Welcome to Z's and Threes.
For three for the win. Yes!
And hold up. Cut the music. Oh, gut punch. Wow. That's how it feels after tonight. Monday, May 12th, 2025, a day that will unquestionably go down in NBA history. In a season already filled with so much drama, so much intrigue, so many plot twists, so many unexpected, today might have taken the cake. If you didn't ride the roller coaster, follow the timeline. It begins with a 1.8 chance in the NBA draft lottery for the Dallas Mavericks, a franchise so in bad need of a positive public relations moment. There's your gift, Dallas. You are now the owners of the number one pick as we bring the beat back and the chance to select Cooper Flag. Wow. Fourth worst lottery odds of all time, and they get the one pick. From there, we go into the Knicks game, and the Knicks on the precipice of returning to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. And the reason now, a gritty Game 4 win over the surging Celtics being led by Jason Tatum, who's taken so much criticism. He had a 42 spot going, his team was ahead, and it was cut short by what looks like a potential severe injury. Steph Curry, currently sitting on the sidelines due to injury. His Warriors trying to just hold serve. Can they just keep the season on track and the series with the Timberwolves even or close enough to get Steph Curry back? What a night it was. We will break down all four series. We've been away for a little while, waited for all of these to get to 4 games. 3 series are 3-1. The fourth could easily be 3-1. That the best series, Denver and OKC, locked at 2-2. So we break it all down, talk about conference semifinals impressions, where we're at, what to expect. Wow, what a whirlwind it has been. Also, we are over 18,000 subscribers, so thank you to you all that have liked, subscribed, shared throughout this journey. I promised you it would be a great one. If you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe. Let's talk some hoops. Like, the human brain and our nervous systems are not equipped to process these things and these things stacked up on top of each other as quickly. And even throughout the course of an NBA season, still trying to process and digest the Luka Doncic trade. I think for some people watching the playoffs and seeing him in a Lakers jersey was still like, what is going on? So tonight we start early in the evening with the draft lottery, and I'm sure all of you had it kicked on, and we see, oh, there's going to be some changes in the order. And then it gets down to announcing the final 5 picks, or the top 5, 4, whatever it was. See Charlotte, you see the 76ers, and you see the Spurs, and you find out the Dallas Mavericks have the number 1 pick in the NBA draft lottery? Okay, Dallas is picking number 1. Let's send you off to the Garden. Mike Breen, take it away. Okay, the Mavericks? I was befuddled. So then we jump on top of that, and we go straight into a banger of a Knicks-Celtics game. But before we go into that and talk about the actual basketball we saw tonight, I want to give you my thesis on the second round this year, because the one word that I wrote down was underwhelming. There's been injuries. There have been fatigue. Fatigue seems to be across the board, and it just feels rushed. I had done a short earlier this week talking about the need of time off between rounds. I thought it was poor judgment by the league to rush into the second round for 2 teams coming off of Game 7. Now, the logical argument on the other side is, well, handle your business. The teams that swept, they should be rewarded with the extra rest. Sure, give them an extra day, but give teams at least that one extra day to process and to put themselves in a position to move on to the next round mentally. And let us, as fans and consumers of the product,
be able to hype up and digest and talk about, hey, wow, what a great series. And, what's this next series going to look like? Boom, we're already into it, man. It was game one of Indy and Cleveland was starting on the Sunday where we were still having game 7 between the Rockets and the Warriors. It's just not feasible, I think, to hype it up. I was thinking to the NFL. The NFL succeeds on so many levels. But one of them is that they play weekly, and it's easy to build hype. It's easy to build storylines over the course of a week. Now, the NBA obviously couldn't go to playing weekly. But from round to round to just, boom, be right back in it, it's just felt rushed. And fatigue does seem to be a major factor in the conference semifinal round. And fatigue is always going to be a factor. I'm not trying to say let's minimize fatigue. Part of winning the whole thing is being able to get to the finish line. But do we want this to be a war of attrition? Or do we want it to be about a test of best on best? Healthier, rested teams equal better games with a less likelihood of injury. Did Steph Curry get injured in game number 1 of the Wolves series because of the intensity level of round 1 pushing him directly into, with 1 day's rest, this second round series? I don't know, but you can't say that it wasn't a factor. We need to let it marinate. We need to let the beat build. I don't want to just see a champion that gets there because they're the last team that's left standing in terms of health. I want them standing on top of the mountain knowing that it was a test of the best and they beat the best. And the argument, well, we've always done things this way and it'll diminish championships moving forward, yada, yada, yada. The worst reason to continue doing something is because we've always done it that way. The game's evolved. Let's follow. I don't know if this is an aberration, but we've seen major injuries in the playoffs, and we have this second round now that seems to be marred by injury. You look at the Pacers-Cleveland, the Pacers-Cavs series. I hate mixing city and mascot. You either got to go city or mascot. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland sat out there. Injuries are always part of the game. I'm not saying negate injuries, but we got to do something. I feel like to just let it build up a little bit more. Knicks, Celtics. Now, injuries part of the equation. Warriors, Wolves, that's a great series, or what looked to be a great series, robbed by, can't take Steph Curry away from the Warriors and think that the Warriors are going to be able to beat the Wolves. I don't see it. And then Denver, OKC, these are two teams that are healthy. They don't have injuries, but they play an overtime game on Friday night and then are rushed into a Sunday matinee. So after finishing after midnight Mountain Time, they have to play at 1:30 on Sunday. And that game was ugly on both sides. I can't say that game was won as much as it was OKC was the car that had more gas left in it at the end. Props to the Thunder for being able to put together the run when it mattered, but did either of those teams look rested, capable, ready to roll? Like, geez, this is the second round. That's a great matchup. Let's deliver good games, but no, we want to rush to get it in the TV window on Mother's Day at the matinee slot. I don't know. So there is my long extended thesis on where we're at in the conference semis. It's been a while. It's been a week since we talked. It was at the end of the first round, and I wanted to let these build. It's hard to jump in. I hate the overreaction culture that we live in now. One game. One game. Denver wins the first game. The Thunder aren't ready. Thunder win game 2 in a blowout. Oh, Denver. Yeah, we knew this was coming. Like, it's every game is the most important game in a 7-game series, and it takes some time to really get a feel of the pulse, at least for me. That's how I like to consume my series, and that's what I'm going to give to y'all. So without further ado, let's dance through each series, break down what we've seen, where we're at, and maybe where we're going. Boston, New York. Let's start in the Garden. Let's start with the defending champs and what this series was. 2 20-point comebacks for the Knicks. Grittiness. This is a Knicks team that feels built for the playoffs. Not that the Celtics aren't. The Celtics have depth, but there have been so many curveballs. The Kristaps Porzingis injury, he seems to be kind of the skeleton key that unlocks everything, stretches the floor, giving the height. He's able to play defense, give them shot blocking, rim protection, rebounding, but also stretch the floor, allows them to shoot the three. And when you take him off the floor, what that then does to the Celtics and their game planning, can't say that hasn't affected them. It obviously has. But Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks, what they've been able to do, specifically Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is just such a peak performer. And he deserves the clutch award that he got. But he's just a gamer, man. He's just there. And, he was majorly injured earlier in the season, just getting to tune up right before. But for this series this will be one of maybe the biggest what ifs. It could end up going down as one of the biggest what ifs of this era because we don't know the extent of the Jason Tatum injury. All we know is what we saw. And from what we saw, it did not look good. He was in severe pain. It looked like an acknowledgement of something that he knew was very wrong. We saw other images, him in the wheelchair. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm sure we will find out sooner rather than later. I don't know if news is out now as I'm recording this. It's 12:36 Central Time in Austin, Texas. And maybe somebody's reported on what has happened. But if Jason Tatum doesn't go down, he had 42 points at that point. Do they win the game? Does Boston even the series at 2-2? How altering this can be to not only this series, but to the landscape of the NBA moving forward. If it's the type of injury that it looks like, we're talking about see you back here in October. We're talking about see you back here next October. And I would hate that. That's why it felt like a gut punch. It was trying to figure out what had happened in the lottery to then figure out, did we just see what we saw with Tatum? As that now, the defending champs are out of the equation. I think any team left in this thing could win, including Boston. I'm not writing off Boston and their ability to rally. They are still deep, but this also shows you how hard it is now to repeat. There's a reason that we haven't had repeat champions since the Warriors did it in their KD days. It is so hard to repeat in the NBA now for a multitude of reasons. The long postseason, the salary cap, and the CBA, and keeping a roster together. But for all intents and purposes, to me, if the news comes out and Tatum is indeed done for an extended period of time, with the Knicks going up 3-1, one more opportunity on their home court, it's going to be a great Game 5 to see what Boston's made of in the Boston Medal. Joe Mazzulla talked about going to a dark place. I don't think that this is the dark place that he meant when he was trying to rally his team out of the 2-0 hole, having blown 2 20-point leads. But, geez, talk about a whirlwind of emotions. And for the New York Knicks and their fans, if you don't follow on social media, the city of New York may explode if the Knicks go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if the Knicks were to go to the NBA Finals, and if the Knicks were to win an NBA championship for the first time since 1975. Let me see if I was right. We'll check Basketball Reference. But if they were, the city of New York may go on a 2-week hiatus. There's the Yankees winning. There's the Dodgers, excuse me. There's the Giants winning. But for the, let's see here, 1972-73 and 1969-1970. As mentioned, they haven't been to a conference final since the turn of the millennium, 99-2000, as an 8 seed. So wow. The Knicks now 1 win away with a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you think they get it done in Game 5 in Boston? If Tatum is indeed long-term gone, does Boston have the mental circle the wagons mentality to at least get it 3-2, win on their home floor, and send it back to New York? Let me know in the comments. Let's stay in the East. Let's go the other series that is 3-1. This is no surprise to me that the Pacers are playing like this. The Pacers were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And if the Pacers played in New York, a lot more people would be talking about the Indiana Pacers. But they don't. They play in Indiana, and they are the Pacers. But that is no shade to them. And you should not shade them because this is a team that is good. It's a team that is deep. It's a team that has played good basketball throughout the entirety of this calendar year. And there is no surprise to me that they are up 3-1. Now, could Cleveland be up 3-1 in an alternate universe? Sure. But the question with Cleveland has always been, how does it look in the playoffs? And not having Darius Garland, not having Evan Mobley for games, and Donovan Mitchell having to shoulder so much of the load. Donovan Mitchell can be that guy. I was having the conversation with a Season 3 subscriber. If you're not subscribed, let me know why you aren't in the comments. And subscribe while you're at it. But comparing Donovan Mitchell to Jalen Brunson, who's the better player? Well, Jalen Brunson we've seen do it on a bigger stage, and he benefits from playing in the Big Apple, where we always thought Donovan Mitchell may end up. Well, they ended up with a guard that it seems to fit like a glove. But Donovan Mitchell re-signs with Cleveland in the offseason, finds a coach that he loves, and Kenny Atkinson. The proof is in the pudding. And Donovan Mitchell, we've seen him do this in the playoffs. He is able to carry a team with his point scoring in a game. He's able to do it in multiple games. But is he at that level where he's able to do it across the course of a series? Any player, if you don't get it by now in the playoffs, I don't care, and it doesn't matter how good you are. It takes a team to win. That's what LeBron told you. Didn't you guys listen? It wasn't Luka and LeBron's fault. It takes a complete, comprehensive team to win in the playoffs. And right now, Cleveland is just not operating like the team that they were all regular season for whatever reason. That could have been the missing of Mobley, that I think is a much bigger deal than the missing of Garland. But it also could just be giving credit where credit is due, which is the Pacers are playing like a complete team. They have won on the road. They have protected their home court. They have matched the physicality. They have brought a level of physicality that is necessary in the playoffs to show you, hey, this ain't a joke. We know that the season can end if we don't handle our business. So don't sleep on the Pacers. Pacers-Knicks redux. Remember, it was last year in this semifinal round that the Pacers beat the Knicks in 7 to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. So Pacers up 3-1. Do they have a chance to shut her down in Game 5 in Cleveland? We will see. Well, they obviously have a chance. It's Game 5 and they're up 3-1. But will they shut it down was the question for their game happening on Tuesday night. Let's go out west. Let's talk the game that we saw, Game 4 tonight between the Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. Credit to Golden State. I mean, they are Steve Kerr, staff, the team. They are throwing the kitchen sink at the Wolves, trying to figure out something that works. Jonathan Kuminga, this forgotten man that has been left on the bench throughout the most important stretches of Golden State's season up until this point with Steph Curry injured. Jonathan Kuminga tonight, 29 minutes, scores 23 points on 6 of 13 shooting. The necessity, but look at the cliff that, no surprise, Golden State's three-point shooting has experienced 8 for 27 tonight, compared to the 16 of 34 from the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, 6 of 11. Are the Wolves the best team left? Wolves Knicks? Wolves Pacers? Who's the best team left between those three, or those three teams that are up 3-1? It feels like the Wolves, if Curry doesn't come back, and will Curry rush back to try to salvage a 3-1 series that now has to go to Minnesota, or with an injury such as the one he has, is there just a, hey, I don't want to sacrifice anything moving forward, especially at this stage in my career. We're just going to see if the other guys can do it, and maybe if we get back to the Bay for a Game 6, then I'll suit up for that one. But be very surprised if the Wolves don't handle their business and book a spot in the Western Conference Finals for the second consecutive year. The Minnesota Timberwolves that we were talking about. Wow, how their culture has changed. They had to weed out their owner, Glenn Taylor, but they have new ownership. But I think it's a testament to their front office, Tim Conley. He's built championship teams, and his imprints are all over this Minnesota team. And how's this Julius Randle deal looking now? Julius Randle, 31 points tonight. He's stuffed the stat sheets across multiple games, but he's found this level of grit that's translated in the playoffs and been a go-to force for the Wolves. So is it all but a foregone conclusion that the Wolves are in the Western Conference Finals? I don't think so at this point. I'd said with this series, I think that Jimmy Butler, he's dragged worse teams, feels like, to further rounds, but I don't know. That's a lot to adjust on the fly for the Warriors. So I think the Wolves, they rain the confetti and book a spot in the Western Conference Finals at the conclusion of Game 5. So the question is, who will be their opponent? And this has been the best series. It is the only series that is even. Denver had a chance to go up 3-1 on Sunday in an atrocious game in which Denver scored 8 points in the first quarter. And the Thunder couldn't find a gear to run them out of the gym and end the game early as they did in game number 2. But we see an overtime game on Friday night. We saw a blown lead game in game 1. We saw an absolute stomping in game number 2, and it brings us to game 4. Pivotal game 4. Thunder trying to steal home court back, and both teams just look completely out of juice. But the Thunder, their bench, they find a finishing kick. They're a deeper team. It's no secret. Denver is not a deep team. They have been playing a rotation of 6 players. It is their 4 regulars and then either Michael Porter Jr. or Russell Westbrook, depending on who is playing the better game and who their head coach David Adelman wants to roll with. Adelman talking in the press conference saying maybe I need to play more players. But now the home court shifts back to the Thunder. So it is the first team to win 2 best of 3 with them having home court. Both teams have won on the opponent's court. But there was a point in game 4 where the body language of the Thunder, to me, this was my interpretation. I've called many games. I've watched many games. I've been close. But the body language just seemed to be, we don't believe that we can beat these guys, at least today. And then Denver just stopped getting buckets and things changed. OKC went on the 11-0 run, I think it was, and then life came back into the Thunder, and they were able to close the game out and even up the series 2-2. So now as this shifts to OKC, I'm interested to see what Game 5 looks like, because this is a series that is very similar to me to that Warriors-Rockets series in the sense of you have an established team that's won a championship against a team trying to establish themselves, and granted on lower stakes, being that the Warriors dynasty level and then the Rockets hadn't been to the playoffs. The Thunder have been to the playoffs, but mind you, they didn't get out of the second round last year. If you remember, they lost to Dallas in 6. And that's what this Denver team is. They are a championship medal team, and that is from Nikola Jokic to Jamal Murray to Aaron Gordon to even Michael Porter Jr., a guy that's playing with one arm. So Denver just doesn't look like a team that's going to go quietly. We know that about them, whether that be in a game or in a series. So Oklahoma City is going to have to earn their wins, and they are so good on their home floor. They're obviously capable of doing that. They've shown that all season. They've shown that in this series. But do they tap into that and find a level of championship grit and I guess that next level of evolution that their head coach Mark Daigneault had talked about in being able to become a championship team? This is how you do it. This is where you earn it. It doesn't come easy. It's setbacks. It's backs against the wall. What do you have? So hopefully both those teams look a little sharper and we get a game that's cleaner. It seems as if both teams are so intent on throwing the complete kitchen sink at Nikola Jokic and SGA that then it's just ugly. It can be ugly basketball. And the Thunder, so many people have asked, well, how did they, play so well? And why are they such a good team? And why did they have historic defense? Part of playing defense is just being ugly. And being ugly in terms of physical, contesting balls, moving guys off spots, doing everything that they do that then can either get whistled or not get whistled across the course of the playoffs. It makes the playoffs the playoffs. The whistle changes. It's almost as if you're operating with two different terms of engagement from the regular season to the playoffs. So this series has the most intrigue, and this Game 5 has the most intrigue. And I wouldn't go as far to say whoever wins Game 5 is going to win the series, because this thing could easily go 7. I think if Denver wins Game 5, they end it in 6. If OKC wins Game 5, I think it goes 7, and then it's a crapshoot in Oklahoma City on Sunday. So there you have it. That's my take on all 4 series and where we are at thus far. 4 games in. Your guess is as good as mine. All right, let's talk what we saw in the NBA draft lottery, because, as I said, the most improbable, but was it really that unexpected now that we look back, outcomes in NBA draft lottery history? A 1.8% chance. The Dallas Mavericks jumped 10 spots. They had the 4th worst odds to even win the draft lottery in history. Since the new system was introduced in 2019 that has discouraged tanking through the flattening of odds. Yes, it is a statistical term, and flattening the curve to then encourage teams to not just tank down the stretch, even though that's what every team did. Maybe we just need to revisit the whole lottery system and how it's put together. The team with the worst record in the league is yet to win the top pick since 2019. And now the Dallas Mavericks, a team that has had more drama, more controversy, more unknown, more conspiracy theories, more internet sleuths going out there saying, well, this is the Adelstons' way of trying to, them being the owners, of trying to get the team to Las Vegas and leverage it. And they wanted to just disband of Luka Doncic. Luka's fat. Luka's this. Wow, we have spent so much time. And this has been the biggest talking point. Now here we are in the midst of the conference semifinals that need a little bit of juice. And now what do we get? The Dallas Mavericks will be selecting number 1. And the presumption is that they will take Cooper Flagg, is it not? We'll see. Nico Harrison maybe has another curveball. I don't know. I haven't watched enough. Cooper Flagg. Did I say Cooper Harrison? I said Nico Harrison. Cooper Flagg. How about San Antonio? I think that's the most intrigue outside of what we've seen things like this happen in the draft before, where it's like, oh, surprise, surprise. Cleveland selecting LeBron. Chicago selecting Derrick Rose. Orlando getting Shaq. The New York Knicks getting Patrick Ewing. The San Antonio Spurs getting Tim Duncan. I don't know. I'll keep going. But how about the San Antonio Spurs, speaking of, picking at 2nd or having the 2nd pick? Now with the news today coming out that Giannis Antetokounmpo potentially wants out of Milwaukee. How long was it before we started to hear that rumor mill churning? I think that this poses an interesting question. If you're Milwaukee and San Antonio calls up and they say, we'll give you the number 2 pick, what else would they have to throw in? You're not throwing in Steph Castle, and you're not throwing in, obviously, Wembanyama. So what would be worth it to get Giannis? Are the players that are going to be available from 2 down worth it? Milwaukee, given their, well, I don't even know if this can work given their cap situation, how they would be able to go apples to apples. But the point being, would San Antonio consider trading that pick, or is it just accumulation of talent? What is the window for Wembanyama and the back-to-back rookies of the year in Wembanyama and Steph Castle? I don't know. There's a lot of intrigue. Look, we're already talking about the draft, and we're only 4 games through the conference semifinal round. As news of the NFL scheduling started to trickle out, well, boy, the NBA has punched back in the trying to take over the media airwaves and the mega media conversationalists, just like your boy here at Season 3's. But yeah, there's my thoughts on the NBA draft lottery. It's definitely brought some more intrigue to the table. What to watch? 2 games on Tuesday night. Cleveland back home, trying to stave off elimination. Pacers trying to throw the knockout punch to book a spot for the second consecutive year in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then the nightcap, game number 5, Thunder Nuggets. I was thinking too, and I threw this out to another NBA head that's also a Season 3 subscriber, and said for the second round, what if games were only on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? So the series alternated. It would take nearly 3 weeks to end the second round. But what if you did it that way and then gave a break before the conference final to where then you could play every other day? I don't know. Just a thought. I like the idea of playing with a little bit more space to at least build it up. The playoffs obviously can't drag out for 3.5 months, but just some thoughts. Here are my musings on the NBA playoffs thus far in the conference semifinals, where we're at. We will be back, I don't know, at some point. Like and subscribe on YouTube. I'm dropping shorts nearly on the daily. That's the best place to get my takes on everything that's happening as is. So we appreciate y'all and hope you enjoy the games. Peace.